Before I get started with this review, I'd like to ask a quick hypothetical question just for fun. Considering what it takes to be worthy to lift Mjolnir, do you think in real life you could be worthy to lift Mjolnir? Just want to put it out there. Thor Love and Thunder is the latest installment in the MCU and is the fourth installment in the Thor series, which now makes it the biggest single character series in all of the MCU. And this is once again directed by Taika Waititi and stars Chris Hemsworth, and it brings back Natalie Portman and introduces Christian Bale to us as our latest villain, Gorn the God Killer. I think that's his name. I kind of keep mispronouncing it, a few people have been telling me. But the basic plot of this movie is Thor's been hanging out with the Guardians following the events of Avengers Endgame. He's been being a hero in the ways that he believes he can be, where he feels like he's making the most difference because he's looking for meaning in his life. But then he returns to New Asgard, and a new villain is Rose, played by Christian Bale, who is someone seeking to kill all gods because of his own motivations. Meanwhile, he discovers that Jane is now worthy to live Mjolnir, and she's become a new Thor, but there are many underlining things that he does not know yet. So that's the basic plot of this movie. I'm not saying anything else. This review is going to be spoiler-free. You're safe here with me. I'm not going to be spoiling anything. I will be putting out a spoiler review probably tomorrow or the day after because I really talk about this movie. But with that said, let's talk spoiler-free about everything in this movie. First off, Chris Hemsworth is Thor. He is great in this movie. He is as witty and funny and charismatic as he always is. This guy has been killing it in this role forever. And I think that though they have gone a drastically different turn with Thor that I do think has been a little not akin to the original vision of what the MCU wanted, I think that he's doing a very good job of it. And I do love the way he plays Thor in this movie. He has such an energy to him, and there is a really deep feeling in there that he's giving it his all, and you can sense how much he loves his character and how much work he puts in for this. Speaking of work that he put in, my God, that man is ripped in this movie. I mean, he got jacked. This is the biggest I've seen, I think, anyone in the MCU aside from Hulk. And that's CG. So this is really big. Also, I think that the costumes in this movie he gets are kind of fun. They're kind of more cartoony, almost, in a sense, but in a very good way. They're more bright and colorful, and I really love that. They seem more comic accurate at times as well. Natalie Portman is Jane Foster. She's great. Did I mind her becoming Thor? No, because they did it very, very tastefully. She's also someone who got into great, amazing shape to play this role. I mean, her arms are huge now. I mean, I was really shocked. But I think that her character has some really good beats that they hit with her, and they did some really clever things with her. They were really good and made me feel very deeply and had very good emotional impact. She plays it so well. She gets back in the character and adds new things to it to really make it her own. And there's such a sense of fun, and the chemistry between her and Chris Hemsworth is there as much as there ever was. Taika Waititi is funny in this movie. I mean, who didn't think he was going to be? You can tell he loves this project as much as pretty much anyone else on this set, and he loves what he's doing. Christian Bale is phenomenal. He's now one of my favorite Marvel villains. I do think that he could have gotten a little more screen time. That would have made me better. But aside from that, he killed it. I loved his performance. He really went for it. He went all out as much as he could, as hard as he could, gave 110%, and there is nothing wrong with that. He killed it in this movie with just an absolute killer of a job that I was so impressed by and was not expecting to see. But when I got it, I was like, yes, that is really good. Something I don't think a lot of people are talking about. How are the Guardians in this movie? Well, they're only in the movie for a brief time, but the short time they're in, I think they are hilarious. They all have funny lines. The jokes land with them. The characters, they feel right back in. I love the grizzled look Star-Lord has in this movie, and I love that everyone still feels natural. They didn't feel like they were tacked on. It felt right. That's the only word for it. It just felt like this is what it should have been. Another interesting, funny thing is in this movie, the weapons, Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, kind of get characters, and it's really funny. It's something that just adds to the movie. And that's what I want to say, is the comedy in this movie is kicked up a notch. Several notches, a lot of notches from Ragnarok. So I think if you liked Ragnarok, you'd probably like this movie, but it depends on how much comedy you're ready to take. Because this movie has a lot of it, and a lot of it's outlandish, and it's huge, and it's over the top, and the colors are bright. So I feel like if you like that comedy, you'll probably like this movie, if you're not too keen on the comedy, you're not going to be too hot in this movie. As for me, I liked this movie. It was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. It had a lot of great action sequences. There's this cool, like, black and white planet where there's no color on it, and it was just, I thought that was cool to look at. I really like some of the new characters they brought in. They brought in some new people, they brought in some new concepts, and this really felt otherworldly. It felt like they went to bigger places. There's this whole thing that goes on with kids in there that's amazing that I think everyone will love. I can get to so much more in my spoiler review. I can't really say anything here because if I do, well, there's something to learn. So I will say Russell Crowe as Zeus is everything I wanted and more. That whole sequence is hilarious, and it's probably my favorite sequence in the entire movie. It was a lot of fun, and it was a blast. Essentially, in there's a bunch of gods that they are there as well. There's like the dumpling god, which is like hilarious, and yeah, that was something great. As far as this movie perfect, no, this movie is tonally uneven. There is no consistent tone because the scenes that involve Christian Bale are extremely dark, extremely dark. But then the rest of the movie is more playing out like a sitcom or a rom-com with action in it. And that's the other thing. I feel like this movie also, aside from being unevenly paced, sometimes felt more of a spoof of Thor than it did like an actual Thor movie. And it kind of lost sight, I think, of that. And that was a little disheartening to me and a little disappointing. I didn't quite like that. The movie seems a little choppy. It seems like there's a lot that's been edited out of this movie. And I don't know. It didn't feel like it was finished. I guess the word is. The CG in this movie is also not very good, I don't think. I think the mocap also is very unimpressive. For Marvel, this is unexcusable, I think. You can't have that bad. It's not horrible. It's not the level that I know Marvel can get to. We've seen what they can do with mocap with Hulk and Thanos, and there's just no excuse for it looking as poorly as it does. I think the reasons of how they explain Jane Foster getting the hammer aren't necessarily explained the best. I wasn't totally sold on that. It wasn't something I totally loved. There were so many ideas I wish they expanded on that didn't expand on all the way. And I don't know. There are issues with the movie. This movie's by no means flawless. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of things that plague this film that could have been done a lot better. The dialogue is sometimes meh, and it's not always the best. And I think it could have benefited from being a little more evenly toned and mixing the comedy with the drama. That's not to say the film is bad. I still enjoyed the movie, but there are problems with this film. It is admittedly nowhere near a perfect movie. If I had to say Ragnarok or this, I'd say Ragnarok is still better. And this one just tries, I think, a little too much to go big, to go new, to go flashy, to go huge. And that's about all I have to say about this movie. Would I recommend it? Yes, I definitely recommend it. This thing you should go check out. I saw this in a packed theater with people laughing behind me the entire time and shouting. And it was great fun. There are a lot of new things, a lot of sequences I think you're going to like, a lot of surprises, and it is something you should totally go check out. Last thing I want to say is the Screaming Goats. I know they're like something either you hate or love. I love them. I loved every scene with the Screaming Goats in it, just for the record. With that said, let me give this movie my rating. I'm going to give Thor Love and Thunder a 7 out of 10. So thank you guys so much as always for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time.